Hi everyone, I've been asked so many times on how I make my orgone pyramid, so I thought I'd make a little how-to video so you can make your own. I do have one in the process. I do mine on a layer by layer basis, so as you can see, like this pyramid, I've got like rocks on this layer, moss on this layer, gold flake on that layer, and shells on that layer. I do it by layers so that way it's not all mixed up together. And then you get a nice finished product. Yeah, so I have a separate mold that I use for when you do your initial pyramid. And then I have a separate mold for the final touch-up. So my final touch-up, should have no flaws in the inside. I do that when I finish my pyramids to give it a nice smooth outward surface. So I use these ones strictly for doing the actual, like drafting your pyramid. So you will need some resin and some hardener for your resin. And your molds. And right here, see I have a pendant I was gonna put on the side of my pyramid, so I'm just gonna make sure that it fits, which it will if I put it on an angle. So I'll put just a little bit of resin in there, and I'm gonna put my quartz crystal for the top part. See there. I can see a little bit. Don't mind my messy workspace. Oh, where's my popsicle stick? Oh, there it is. So I'm just gonna put a little tiny bit. It's just to hold my crystal down. And I'm only gonna use one drop because I'm only putting a little bit of resin in. Just gonna mix it up a little bit. Make sure it's mixed. Don't have very much in there, and I'll try and put my crystal in there. Hopefully it'll stand up. If it doesn't stand up, sometimes I find it helpful to put some tape. Like I'll cut a strip of tape and sort of tape the crystal, like not touching the resin, of course, but just the crystal just to hold it. Oh gosh, I got hair in there. Probably dog hair. I'll get it out later. So that's the first step, and yeah, I'll come back with my next step once this dries up a bit. It does speed up the drying if it's outside in the sun, like if it's nice weather out where you're at. And before you're putting the lid back on here, always make sure you wipe this, otherwise this will get stuck on the can. And if it ever gets stuck, you'll need one of those to pry the lid off. So I'm going to go through my step 2 of my orgone pyramid, which you don't have to make pyramids. You can make jewelry as well. My daughter has experimented with those. Or you can make your own crystal pendants. Like you would get like a mold like this or whatnot. And you can also use resin dye to get the different color variations. I do get my resin and catalyst at Michael's, so I usually wait till there's a 50% off coupon online, and I'll use that towards my resin. So for my step 2, I'm just going to put a little bit of resin in my pyramid. I usually put my resin in the pyramid. I could use solo cups, but I try to eliminate the extra waste as much as possible. Whatever is better for the environment. For the messier jobs, I'll probably use a cup. and try and use it several times as much as I could. So if I'm only going to put a little bit of resin, I'll just use 1, maybe 2 drops, nothing too drastic. You don't need very much catalyst for your resin. So I'm going to mix it a little bit, try and mix that catalyst in with the resin so it hardens up nice. So as you can see, I only put a little bit in here. And I'm going to put my pendant in here. Just place it in. And put some crystals in here. Now you can plan your pyramid out any way you want. They make great gifts. I try to make sure I include some metal shavings. Some people recommend doing like a layer of organic material such as crystals or sand, shells, and then another layer of metals, and then keep going organic metals, organic metals. I make mine as gifts. And I always try to make them as pretty as possible if I can. Okay. All right. As an example of me doing a layer on another orgone pyramid, I've only put a little bit of resin in here, as you can see. As you can see, this is my bottom layer. For this, for instance, I probably put maybe 3-4 drops of my catalyst. Not too much. You don't want to overdo it. So there, I got 4 drops in here, and you just mix it, and then you can add whatever you want in here. Like this is just a small layer, and I like to add organic stuff, so I got like a little bit of everything in my collection. So as you can see, I added my moss and some mixed colored shells and some lavender and just a little bit of green glitter. So as I said earlier, if you're going to be adding like some gold flake, or well, in this instance silver flake, with resin or even sand, I'd recommend putting it in a plastic cup. I just put a little bit of resin in here. I actually put 4 drops of the hardener. So you'd want to stir it up pretty good and then add your flake or your sand in here after. The reason why I put it in here is so that way you don't make it too messy in your pyramid and don't make a mess. So when doing sand, which you can do in your pyramid, I put the resin in some hardener in a cup first, and I swirl it around before I add the sand. So I'm going to add some sand after. Got some sand here from Jackson, Florida. Got some shells in there. And I'm going to stir it. You don't need to put too much sand. That's totally your choice what you want to put in. And then you can add it into your pyramid. So when your pyramid's just about done, so this is the initial stage, getting it complete. Just going to pop it out of the mold. It's easier to do it if you have a silicone mold. Now when you take it out of the mold, this one's kind of sticky still, you're gonna get this really sticky surface. Well, at least that's what I get. So what I do for the final step is, this is why I have another mold, is I dip it back into the mold. So I'm gonna put like about this much resin, About 5 drops of hardener should do, but I'm gonna put 6. Don't mind my messy workspace. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. Give it a little stir. Try not to make too many bubbles. Now I'm going to carefully put the pyramid, try and center it in the mold. What's on my silicone tray? Okay, so you're gonna see some of the resin come up on each of the sides, which is great. Now what you can also do is you can put a little bit of resin on top with a hardener, stir it on top if you like to do another layer on the top, which is what I'm going to do right now. So this step, you don't need to have a final mold, like a second mold for final mold. That's just what I do. You can definitely use your other mold, you just have to clean it after. I like to let my pyramid sit for a good day or two before I pop it out of the final mold, just so I don't, you know, mess it up. Kind of want to try and keep it as perfect looking as I can. You definitely don't want to do this indoors because all the toxic fumes. The most ideal place is to do this in your shed or on your deck or in your garage. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit for a couple days and then we'll pop it out of the mold. Okay, so I'm going to take out my pyramid. It's been sitting here for 2 days. So I'm just gonna go around the edges and peel it out nice and carefully. You're going to carefully take it out of your pyramid mold. And I'm just going to pop it out gently. I just popped this girl out of the mold. I recommend not to touch the sides so you don't get any permanent fingerprints on it. As it will take a while for it to cure. Some people use heat, which is outside in the sunlight, would help cure your orgone pyramids. Some people even put them in the oven. Anyhows, thanks for watching my video.